Hi there, I'm Candace Day. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams, the South Sound, Olympia, Washington office. And I have collected together some people to talk to us about what it's like to be landlords, and in more particular, military landlords. This is often something that a lot of our service members fear facing, because of the frequent moves. And it often, because of this fear, they're feeling that they cannot purchase the home, that they're going to end up with terrible tenants if they have to rent. And so to avoid the entire situation, they themselves just become renters, which is fine if that's your choice. We all make our choices, what's best for us. But you are missing out on a lot of potential savings, first of all, and income, quite frankly. Because if you have ever looked at ways to create residual income, going into retirement, real estate is really one of the best ways to do that. So I collected together a panel of wonderful ladies who are all military landlords. And they talk a little bit about how they got started, a couple of the things, that they've experienced. And we could probably go on for hours and hours with each one of their different experiences, but we tried to make it as short as possible and informative as possible. So hopefully you get something out of this. So, let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. You want to connect with any of the lovely people that assisted me in creating this video. I also have other ways that you can connect with me. I have an Instagram, a Facebook, a LinkedIn, and a website through Keller Williams. And those are all going to come up under C-Day Pacific Group. I am focused on trying to help our military service members with the major move across the Pacific. And so I actually have a whole collaboration between the Pacific Northwest and the Pacific Islands. So I hope you enjoy, and I'm open for comment and feedback. And thank you so much for watching today.
Okay, all right, so we're going to begin. All right, so I am Candace Day. And today I brought together a panel of people that we're gonna talk about the aspects of being a military landlord and discuss topics around owning and managing rentals while juggling the military lifestyle. And so we'll start with a round of questions and our first introductions, and then a round of questions. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Erica. If you could please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Erica. I was 23 years in the Army active duty, retired as a first sergeant here in Hawaii, where I currently live. I currently manage 14 rentals, 4 of which belong to me. And I've been a military landlord for 11 years now. Glad to meet you all.
Thank you, Erica. And to you, Lisa.
That was definitely an impressive first start. I'm a military spouse. I didn't serve. My husband is active duty. He's in the Marine Corps. We're currently stationed in Miramar, San Diego, California. We currently own 2 rentals and a primary, but I am a lender. So I'm kind of on the finance side of all of this for everybody.
Thank you. And Megan? It's coming up, Eric. Is it Megan?
I'm so sorry. I'm on my husband's computer.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm Megan Vasquez. Yeah. Hi. Well, I'm Megan Vasquez. My husband and I have been affiliated with the military just almost 20 years. He's active duty. I'm a veteran. Currently, we have 5 rentals and a piece of land that's being rented out by a landscaper. And then our primary residence that will become a rental when we PCS from here in San Antonio.
Nice.
We've been landlording for about 17 years.
Thank you. And Sharon?
Hi, my name's Sharon. My husband was active duty military for 21 years. He retired about 4 years ago. We started as landlords in 2008. and we're still going. And we have a 5-unit apartment building. We have commercial property, and we have 2 single-family homes right now. And then our own house that we live in now, but this is our forever home, so we're not selling it or renting it out.
Fantastic, thank you. And so my story, I am a military spouse of 12 years now. We have owned 3 different homes between us, and we just became military landlords recently in this last year. And so it's a very important topic for me. And then we just sold one of our homes that we held on to, and saw the benefits of homeownership through that. I am a realtor in the state of Washington and looking to be a realtor also in the state of Hawaii soon as well. So thank you so much for being here. The next question that I'd like to discuss is, how did you first get started? So how did you purchase your first rental? You know, what was your technique like? That's kind of the biggest hurdle for most people is how do you even begin this process? So again, we're going to go in the same order, and I'm going to start with Erica. Thank you.
All right. Well, so my landlord story is I never intended to be a landlord. I think a lot of people have that same story. So I bought a VA foreclosure in Fort Bragg, North Carolina in 2002. So, well, I guess I've been landlording more than 11 years, but 11 years straight. So I bought that house for a primary residence on a VA loan. I was single at the time, just myself and my daughter, who was 2. Renovated it over time, over about 6-year period. During that 6-year period, I got orders to Korea. So I became a landlord, and I moved part of my furniture out and rented the home to a neighbor for pretty much nominal fee because I was just going to be back in a year. Then 10 months later, I ended up going to Iraq. So once again, my house is empty. So my ex-husband lived at Fort Bragg as well. So she would go and stay with him for the times that I was deployed. He was also in the military, as was the stepmother, and later my husband that I married. So very military family. But yeah, so I ended up renting it again while I was deployed to Iraq. A girlfriend of mine moved in, paid very nominal amount of rent, came back, and I moved back in. Then I bought another house, once again, intending to just live in it, and got orders to Germany. So when I left for Germany from Fort Bragg, I had to rent this house that I was in the process of renovating. So I immediately rented it out. We'd only owned it about 6 months and went to Germany. And that has been a rental for the last 11 years. We only lived in it for like 9 months. And yeah, so that's how we got started. And I still own the one in North Carolina.
So accidental landlord.
Yes.
Love it.
And then I realized you can make money because someone else is paying the mortgage. And so it's just continuing to build equity slowly because I bought the house in 2008. But yeah, it's very slowly building equity, and it's at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is also a very low rent, low property values area. I bought right outside the gate. So it's a great house. It's big, but it's just not very expensive, nor will it ever be because of the area. So
thank you. Lisa?
I'm going to clear my throat a lot today, and I apologize. My allergies have gotten the best of me, so I've been having cough drops for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But like everybody else, I kind of started out the same way. I guess my only difference is when my husband and I were buying our first home, which was in North Carolina, he was stationed in Camp Lejeune. We bought a new build because we knew that we were going to be there for quite some time, just based on his MOS, on his job in the Marine Corps. We know that he doesn't get to go to the cool duty stations like Korea and Germany and Italy and everywhere else overseas. And it was close enough to family for us because we're from Florida. So we figured, hey, if we're out here for a while, we may as well have a house versus living in an apartment, because family came to visit a lot and it was just more comfortable that way. So we bought the home in 2015. And then as we were going through the loan process, I actually got offered a job at the mortgage company that we were using. So that's also how I got started in the industry, which makes everybody laugh. But I thought it was really cool. And I was like, oh, so like there's like other loans for like other people. And like, then I learned about like investment property loans, right? Conventional loans. And kind of just snowballed from there. Once we got orders, we PCS'd in January of 2019. My husband's like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, oh, we're renting this. We're going to make some money out of this. It's a brand new home, newly built. We we upgraded the floors throughout. We did new paint because it was all that builder's like satin egg wash, or what is it, the eggshell finish paint, disgusting. We upgraded countertops, backsplashes, like we did everything. And it's actually a really, really good rental right now. And Jacksonville is, I work in Fort Bragg too. It's a very low cost area. I mean, really people on minimum wage can get by and buy homes out there. So ours does rent for a little more than the average, I would say, in the area, just because when we left, there was a rental shortage. So we were able to get by picking up the rent a little bit. But once I saw the benefit in that, we moved out here, and I told him, hey, I want to buy out here, because here, California is not very landlord friendly. They're very, very lenient with tenants. So I told him, I said, but the area that we're looking to buy in has so much potential. And because the average appreciation rate here in San Diego is somewhere between 4 and 7% each year, we can make a good chunk of change if we decide to sell and then use that money to buy another house, whether it be a primary or another rental. So we bought this house. We actually gutted it and renovated it because it was a disgusting California home, if you know what that looks like. We actually have just finished our renovations. We bought April of last year. So thank you, COVID, for making this a year-long renovation. But because of all of this, we were able to really put away some money. We refinanced the rental in North Carolina, saved more money on that one. And we actually just used all that money to buy another rental property also in North Carolina. And it's also kind of just right outside the gate. And if you can believe it, it was like an $80,000 townhome that we rent out for almost $900 a month. My mortgage is like $300. So, and that's kind of what I preach, right, to my clients who are like, Lisa, how do I buy a rental? Like, how do I get into this? And my advice is usually start with a primary residence if you don't have the money for a 20% down conventional loan, right? Because you always got to start somewhere. And if you don't have that kind of money, but you know that you can use your VA loan, which is zero down, and get into a primary, let's go about it that way. I hope that answers all the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one of the strategies that I think more people need to be aware of. The perception that the VA loan is a one-time and done and you can never use it again and you punch that ticket. I don't know why it exists, but it's out there and it really prevents people from being able to do what you ladies have just described. Megan,
what I tell people, sorry, just to touch on that, what I normally tell people too is, as an agent, and I'm sure you see this a lot with sellers not wanting to accept VA offers, this is not your grandfather's VA loan, right? Like that's my little tagline, because if you remember, or if you know where you look it up, VA loans were not fun. They required a down payment. They had higher interest rates. The funding fee, I think, was like 0.5. So it was a really low funding fee, but oh my God, could you get your offer accepted with a VA loan and not come out of pocket with anything? So I think everybody just kind of sticks with that old VA loan and they don't realize how far it's come over the last few years. Even last year, there were so many changes in 2020 to the VA loan. And I just don't think people are aware of it. So they get stuck with, it's not a good loan. You can only use it one time. You can only use it if you retired, not if you just got out after 4 years. So there's just, I think, a lot of misconceptions on that still, sadly.
Absolutely. We should do a video on that.
Let's
do it.
I'd love to project on that because one of the biggest misconceptions I've heard that changed in 2021, actually, I think it was 2020, excuse me, was that there's no longer a VA loan limit. I live in Hawaii. And so like the house I'm currently in was a big piece of crap. And $1 million because I'm looking at the ocean over the top of my computer. And it's basically 3 units in one. So there is a misconception that there's a loan limit, and there's not anymore, as long as you do not have a loan out on your current VA certificate. So that is a fabulous point.
Yeah, and that's a I had a conversation with a gentleman the other day. Why can't I be approved for that? You told me, that there were no loan limits. And it's like, yes, but you don't qualify because of X, not because of the loan limits. And so I think a lot of people are still stuck on, oh, the VA only gives you 400 or 500,000. And it's like, where did you even get that number? Have you been to Hawaii? Have you been to California? That doesn't exist here. You can't buy anything for that. So
thank you so much for sharing that, both of you. I'd like to go to Megan if she's ready, if she'd like to share her story.
Sure, mine's much shorter. I did not become an accidental landlord. I knew when I bought my first property, I wanted to rent it out. But I was a very smart, not really, 21-year-old. I got buying houses for dummies. I read it cover to cover. I wanted to buy a house within the next 5 years. And in 6 months, I was in contract to buy a house, but I knew nothing. I didn't know what I was doing. I did use a VA loan because I didn't have any money either. But I specifically looked for a house that had 2 other finished rooms with large closets that I could rent out to friends. And I house hacked, which that's a bigger pockets term, but where you rent out to friends. I was a boom operator. My friends were all boom operators. We all deployed a lot. So I wanted somebody that was going to, at least somebody was going to be in the house. But that house saw a lot of parties. It almost burnt down, like I was 21. So, we enjoyed it, but my intention was to rent it out, and that's how I got started. So.
I love it. That is a very smart, something to do in your 20s, for sure, and because it gives you a lot of room to make mistakes as well. You're not trying.
Yeah, and we all split everything 3 ways. So we each paid for utilities and everything $365 a month. So we were all making money on this situation. So
that's awesome. Yeah, everyone's saving. Great way to go about it. Sharon?
Hi. Well, we intended to be landlords. We weren't ready to be landlords when we said we were going to. It just kind of happened because of a PCS, but my husband's grandfather had a lot of land that he always rented out. He built houses, and then when he was finished building them, he would rent them out. And then for his retirement plan, he would sell a house once a year and then use that because he also owned his own store. So he never really worked for anyone else other than himself, other than being in the military for a few years. We did not go with the traditional VA loan when we started. We bought our first house in California. It was our 3rd assignment. We just came from overseas at 23. We bought a new construction house in California. We did conventional loan. As first-time home buyers, they had a deal where they were giving you a grant for $100,000 that had 0% interest on it, and you didn't have to pay it back if you stayed in the home for 2 years. So we lucked out into that. So we did conventional. We still had to put the down payment down. My husband was active duty Air Force. I worked full time, and we both worked at Sears at night. He worked a commission job at Sears doing tire rotations and fixing cars, and I worked in I sold men's suits. Whew, exciting. And then we were both also full-time college students, and we didn't have any kids at the time. And then when we bought the house, it had a separate detached garage, and above the garage was almost like a mini apartment. It didn't have a kitchen in it, but we rented it out to guys that my husband worked with. We started with a girl that worked at Sears with us, and then she moved out, and then another guy was getting a divorce, going through the Air Force. But they were people that we were friends with, so we ended up cooking dinners together and hanging out together, and it was just one big group. So it wasn't anything for me to come home and someone be sitting in my living room. They had their own private space, but then, it was fun to just have someone else to talk to, because most of the time me or my husband were gone. We were either working or at school or doing homework, and they were kind of in the same boat. And we always had 2 jobs all through our military career. One of us was either working or we owned our own company. But anyway, we got that house. We sold it when we moved to Nevada. We put all our money from that house into another conventional loan in Nevada. And then we were in Nevada for 8 years, and we got orders to Virginia. And at this point, it was during the housing bubble where it burst. We had bought in 04, this was 08. My husband got orders to go to Virginia. And our plan was we were going to use the government plan where if you left your house empty and vacant, you had it for sale for 6 months, then the military is supposed to pay off your mortgage. Well, we did that. We did the whole 6 months of the house empty. We carried our mortgage because your mortgage had to be current. And they came down and said, oh, we ran out of money for the program. Sorry, we can't buy your house. In the meantime, we had already bought a house in Virginia and we started completely renovating it. So we're like, okay, well, now it's time to rent. And we actually ended up having to rent it at a loss. I think we ended up coming out of pocket. The mortgage was covered, but we did have a property manager at the time. And it was a friend of mine. And I had a business managing. My side business was I would manage professional executive organizations like you guys have, like the International Realtors Real Estate Management Organization. So I was their executive director for them, and I got paid for that. And I did that on the side on top of my regular job. So I gave her that business in exchange for renting my house for me. So I never paid a fee for it the entire time we rented it, which was 7 years. We bought our house in Virginia. It was a 1928 home. We completely gutted it down to the studs, renovated, and then we were able to sell it. When we left there, we went back to Vegas for 4 years. I cried the whole way back to Vegas. I did not want to go back. I didn't want to leave my house in Virginia. We thought we were retiring there. Still had the house for rent. The people who lived in it had kids who were twins who were in high school that didn't want to get rezoned out of their high school. So we rented a house, and we knew we were only going to be there for a short time because we were just buying out the time for retirement. We came back stateside. My husband retired. I came back ahead of him for retirement since I got a job offer. And we bought his grandmother's house when she passed. And that is now a rental. And then his grandfather, this is the same one that had all the rentals, they still had another rental with their name. So we bought it off of the estate and we completely renovated that one, and we flipped it. And then we bought the next door neighbor's house, which was also built by his grandfather, but wasn't owned by the family at the time. Completely gutted it, renovated it, and flipped it. Bought the house we're in now that we live in, and we have 7 acres here. We ended up getting a bargain on a 5-unit apartment rental building. So we've done that. And then we went to auction and we bought 3 units at a real estate auction. And they were up for sheriff's sale for non-payment of taxes and foreclosure from the bank. And we completely renovated a house that was on there. We sold a property off as is. It had a trailer on it, a single wide trailer. So someone bought the trailer off of it, and then we sold the lot. And then it also had another full single family house on it. And then it also had a commercial beauty shop that's on it. So we kept the house, kept the commercial beauty shop. And then we have the 5 units, and then we have the grandma's house that we've had before as our rentals. And we're currently looking at buying another house to rent. And we're also looking at having a property because now we're going to build a house to sell as well.
Wow. I think everyone can agree on that.
Yeah.
Whew, what a wild ride.
But my husband's made it his full-time business now since he's retired. So
yeah, I mean, well, you know, you're experts at this point, you know.
Yeah, he remodels and flips. We also remodel people's houses if they, you know, call and say, hey, I want my kitchen redone or my bathroom redone. We came in really good friends with our real estate agent. And now whenever they have something that needs fixed or a house won't sell, they call us and help them do that. So it's kind of worked great. So, but I'm hearing his main job and do that. He still has 2 other jobs, but
I'm hearing a lot of, thank you so much, Sharon, for giving that story to us. I appreciate it. I'm hearing a lot of, from all of you about taking on the project, not only like, you know, the risk of buying the property itself, but I'm hearing a lot of renovating. So I think that would be another interesting topic to discuss. Perhaps in a different time if you all are willing to get together again. So I love that because that's something that I see a lot of people going out, especially first-time home buyers. They're trying to find their dream home the very first time. And I think that if I had to say if there's one mistake out there that I see the most of is people doing that, because most of the time, as you all know, you can't find everything that you want in one house. Even if you're building it yourself, later on, you still find things that are wrong. I've heard that from a lot of people. And I've been involved in building projects, so I've seen a lot of that. So, but I think it's great that all of you were you know, scrappy enough that you decided to just go ahead and, you know, gut the house, make it your own, and get that sweat equity. It's beautiful. So I have a few more questions here. So we might not be able to get to all of them, but I want to talk a little bit about, you know, how did you evaluate? So there's questions, the next two questions, I'm going to package it together so you can kind of hit both points if you'd like. If you did evaluate the market, or if you were, you know, when you made that decision to purchase, what helped you determine if it was going to make a good investment in the ones that you did choose to make an investment in? Okay. I know, you know, for some of you, as you mentioned, it was going to be your dream home, was going to be the final house. And then it, you know, kind of changed on you, your plans changed. So what were kind of some of the things about the market, things that you looked at that said, yes, this is the right time to buy, this is the right place to buy, so that people can kind of get an idea of what things they should be considering when they're out there searching. And were there any, you know, special resources? Megan, you mentioned a resource, a book that you had turned to in your 20s. Are there any resources that you can recommend that you've read, or any sort of training programs or anything like that that you really think has had an impact? For me, it was actually Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, but which doesn't really teach you a whole lot about being a landlord, but it teaches you about wealth mindset. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand with having the courage to undertake this kind of lifestyle. So Erica, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. Again, if you can just kind of share a little bit about, you know, what helped you to evaluate the market or choose that market, what resources you might have, you know, drawn on, or you draw on today. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, so to act right. So we lived in a townhouse for a little while by the Naval Academy, renting. Then we went ahead and we purchased a house that needed renovations, because that's what we had done in North Carolina. We would buy, renovate, live in it, and then sell it for profit. So once again, I really wasn't on board with being a landlord. That wasn't my thing. So we bought the house in Maryland for $335,000, renovated it, lived in it, and then sold it 18 months later for $395,000. So that went really well. We ended up getting some money back at closing, because we were getting more crafty about buying houses. So I can go into that in another time if we do the renovation show. But then we moved to Hawaii. So when we PCS to Hawaii, I had already been here. I was here in the 90s. I was stationed here in 97 to 2000 as an E4 specialist in the Army. And this time coming back, I was an E8. So I had some money to spend. So I was really excited about that. I knew that I wanted to live on North Shore because it's beautiful. It's kind of like a surferish town. I was going to be stationed at HMR, Hilamano Military Reservation, and it's only about 7 miles from North Shore. So I was like, we're going to do this. So my husband and I moved here, and we were looking for a flip. We're like, let's find a house. We're only going to be here 3 years. This is what we thought in 2014. We haven't left yet. But I was thinking I was going to make Sergeant Major and stay on the path, and we were going to leave in 3 years. So we were looking for flips, and the things that were flippable were so horrible and so run down that the VA wouldn't approve them. And then they still were almost market value. So market value at that time was about $600,000 to $700,000 in the area for like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. Nothing extravagant, just to get like a house. It was about $700,000 here. So we were pre-approved for $650,000. Looking at houses, everything was a big piece of crap. Wasn't working out. Then we had been in the hotel for a while, and we found a house that was brand new build. And I was like, no, I don't want a brand new build. The house is going to work out. But we ended up going to look at it, and it was big. It already had 2 separate electric meters. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, if we can't sell it when we leave, we could rent it because we could divide the top and the bottom up. So the top is 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, and the downstairs is basically a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. So we purchased the home. We talked them down from 675 to 650, and we ended up having to get a USDA loan. So that's a different kind of loan product because there was it was basically subdivided. They call it CPR here, but the land was subdivided into 4 parcels. And in order to get a VA loan, that all the units have to be built, and 2 of the units were not built yet. So we went with a USDA loan, which is also 0 down. It has like a 1% funding fee. And it does have private primary mortgage insurance until you get, what is it? You have to have 78% equity or something like that. Basically 80%, 80-20. And then the PMI can come off, unlike FHA where the PMI stays on for the life of the loan. So we got the USDA loan. We moved into the house. About 3 years into Hawaii, I realized that I was going to retire. My body's check engine light came on. My hips started to hurt. I was getting headaches. I was stressed out. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. My husband was a licensed general contractor. He was in the process of getting his license at the time. We had a child in high school who was getting ready to be a senior. We had another kid who was in, I think, 1st grade at the time. And I was like, I don't want to move them anymore. I don't want to move my husband. I'm done. My body hurts. I just don't want to do this anymore. So I dropped my retirement paperwork and retired. We kept that house. And then I became a real estate agent at the urging of my husband because he was building homes. So he figured, well, you could sell the homes if we're building them, which in retrospect was the best thing he's ever told me to do that I listened to. Because being a real estate agent on Oahu is extremely lucrative. So we were living in that house, happy, still have the rental in North Carolina. I started doing property management here professionally, as well as real estate sales. So I went ahead and was looking. I'm always looking for clients, but always looking for myself too, just in case, because I love shopping. So we found the house that we currently live in. It is 3 properties in one. Legally, it's 1 single family home, but Hawaii is really different with the way we subdivide things. So there's a plantation house downstairs. It's basically a 3 bedroom, 1 bath, historic looking plantation home. And if you've ever been to Hawaii, you know what that means. But yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's just kind of historic looking. Then we live upstairs. So I'm actually on the 2nd floor of my house. Downstairs is a 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment that we transformed into a 2 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. Our daughter is home from college unexpectedly and permanently. So she transferred here from California. So she's 21 and lives in the apartment. We rent a room or house hack. I love that she used that term because we house hack as well. We rent a room downstairs. And then we rent our other house out for $4,500 a month. So our mortgage on the Haleiwa house in the other town is $3,300. We rent it for $4,500 and they pay utilities. Our current home was $1 million. We live in a flood zone. So with flood insurance and everything else, our monthly mortgage is about $4,200 a month. The downstairs unit pays $3,000 a month. The guy in the rental pays $500 a month. Usually it's $1,000, but he's a friend and I'm selling him a house. So I gave him a discount. So all in all, we end up making money to live here. We live here for free. So that's house hacking is so smart. I love to tell people about that. But we did have to renovate. So the house was not condemned, but not really livable. If you know how to talk to the VA appraiser, sometimes you can get them to agree that a house is in livable condition, even if it's extremely borderline, especially here in Hawaii, because a lot of properties get extremely run down because the ocean air just destroys everything. And the humidity, which I know San Diego has a lot of the same problems. So I'm sure the San Diego residents and agents can identify. But let's see. So yeah, our technique on the first house was USDA loan here in Hawaii. The second one, my VA certificate was free. We have 2, my husband and me, so golden ticket. We used my VA loan to purchase this house, and this house was $1 million, and we were still able to get it with 0 down. So, and my husband being a licensed general contractor, he and his guys did the work. So we got an extreme discount on the contracting as well to get it livable and make it the house that we want. And right now we're going to sell the house in Haleiwa. We bought it for $650,000. The market in Hawaii has been going so crazy that 7 years later, it's worth $1.1 million. So we're going to sell that house, and we're planning on buying a parcel of land across the street, and we're going to build on it and live on the ocean, and then continue to rent this one and have the majority of our mortgage on the oceanfront house paid for by our rentals on this property. So love house hacking. I love flipping and renovating and making something beautiful that it wasn't before. And yeah, that's our basic story right now of how we got into choosing our properties. We chose this one because it had multi-units. We chose the other one because it could be divided into multi-unit. And we chose the other one because it was large and in Haleiwa town, which is a historic surfer town. It will always stay rented. People love that town. So that's how we chose the rentals that we chose.
Thank you, Erica. That's an incredible story. And congratulations. That must feel so great, you know, and to be in that position, you know, post-retirement and after such an amazing career in the military. I just have to thank you so much for that, for your service, for your family's service as well. And wow, I mean, I'm just blown away. This is great, and I'm glad you chose real estate. So
yeah,
hello, fellow realtor. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just got my broker's license. So
yeah, oh, awesome. I mean, that's tough. So congratulations. And
yeah.
I look forward to speaking with you even further. As I've, you know, mentioned, I'm just, you know, new to the islands here. This is my second time actually here, but new to the real estate side of the islands here. So I look forward to talking to you more about that. Okay, so we are getting down on time. We're gonna have to cut it a little bit short as far as the last few questions. So go ahead and kind of, you know, each of you go ahead and I'm gonna go back around to all of you for you to answer. You know, so talk about, you know, some of the things that helped you evaluate the market, you know, maybe some of the education materials, as you mentioned, or tools that you use. For one, I use apartment.com, you know, to manage my rental, things like that you might want to mention. And I love that, Erica, you also touched on one of the questions of how being a landlord is part of your long-term goals and having that residual income. That's something that Guy Kawasaki talks about, the residual income and having basically your mortgage paid for, you know, and then being able to live off that in retirement as well. And then, you know, if you want to feel like, or if you feel like there's anything else that you guys have thought about while we're sitting here and you're hearing other stories that you want to share, you can feel free to share. We are going to have about 7 minutes left, and then it will literally cut us off if we don't complete it, okay? So I might interject at some point, but otherwise, feel free to share as much as you can squeeze into a couple minutes. Lisa, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, definitely feel like I'm behind the curve on all of you guys. Like, you guys are way ahead of me. Sharon, I am gonna have to reach out to you later, because one thing I have been wanting to invest in is an apartment building. And I think I actually remember your name from one of the posts, and I pinged you and I was like, I need to talk to you about this. I want an apartment building. But again, we started with a new build in North Carolina, VA loan. We were 20, I think. Yeah, we had just gotten married. I had just graduated college and moved to North Carolina, uprooted my whole life. This is not what I went to school for. So it was kind of just a huge shock to me altogether. And when we were buying a house, we were not thinking about anything. Priority was a yard for my dog. That's the whole reason why we bought a house. So because we lived in an apartment, and it was a wonderful apartment, but it was on the 3rd floor. And I hate stairs. I am the worst. I don't like them. I don't want to take the dog out in the middle of the night going down 3 flights of stairs, and it's cold. No, I don't want to do all that. So we ended up buying the house. But at the time, I just kind of wasn't looking at the market. My priority was a yard for the dog. So when we moved out here, we came out here a couple months before we actually PCS'd here, and I started looking at different neighborhoods. San Diego, though, is really, really overwhelming. There's like 2 million people here. So there's a bunch of different pockets and towns and cities within San Diego County. So it was just really hard to pinpoint where we wanted to live. I didn't know where I was going to be working at the time. I had no idea where my company's office was going to be. We knew where his base was and like what was around, But in our head, we're thinking like, man, we cannot afford a $700,000 house. And that's kind of what the going rate was near the base where he worked. So we chose a base housing for a few months to kind of get familiar with the area, do all the things. And then I kind of got bored of San Diego. I'm not going to lie. I don't feel like it's as hyped up as it is. I don't think it's all that great. So we decided to move downtown to a loft because we love the city. We love city living. So mind you, this whole time we're like saving up and we're talking about, oh, let's maybe buy a house and, you know, we'll see what the investment looks like. And I'm still getting my feet wet in the San Diego market and how all that looks. So we ended up in base housing for 6 months. We lived 6 months in the loft downtown. I like to move, by the way. I'm a gypsy. I will move anytime you tell me. And then we found this town, Escondido, which is a little further from my husband's shop from where we live downtown, but it was close enough then to where I was working. And the commute really wasn't terrible for him. It's like a 25-minute commute. But we noticed that the prices here were pretty low, but had been creeping up just in the last year. I mean, houses were selling here in the 250s to 350s. The year before we bought, and we bought our house last year at 500. So for me, that was like okay, I can still get in under BAH and be able to make a profit later. So I have never liked house hacking. I like my space. I don't really want to walk out in my living room and see my roommate in their underwear. I don't like roommates. I don't want to live with anybody other than my husband. So I am probably the one that will tell you not to house hack, but to do it for financial purposes if you want to, you know, build wealth that way. So
thank you, Lisa. I gotta go to Lisa. I've got to go to Megan,
sorry.
so I can give them both a chance. We're running out of time. We've got a few minutes left. Thank you. That's a great point. Watch the prices.
Sorry, I'll keep it short. We have
Go ahead, Megan. Go ahead.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. We actually have a pretty standard process for choosing our houses. Every time we PCS, we intend to buy a property. We look up the E5 BAH for that area and try and make that our monthly mortgage budget. So then we look for a 3-bed, 2-bath, preferably single story because I don't like stairs. Somewhere in the price range or the square foot range of like 1,500 to 1,900 square feet. And usually we do have to put work into the properties, but this model does 3 things. It keeps us living within our means, always. It allows us to rent to E6 and above and still bring in a reliable profit. And it keeps recurring costs like taxes, insurance, HOA, property management low, and it keeps remodel, maintenance, and repairs cost manageable all the way down the line. So that's what we do. As far as resources are concerned, I love Bigger Pockets. I read any book that they will suggest. And I always make sure that I surround myself with people that are way smarter than me because I just like to learn stuff. That's just me.
Thank you so much, Megan. Sharon, if you could give us a brief couple of things and then we've got to wrap it up. Sorry, guys, I don't have the paid version on this one, so.
I'll make it quick. We don't live near a military base right now, so military isn't an option. We live in a community that's mainly a retirement community. So we focus mainly on single story homes. So it's easy access for someone. We make it when we renovate, it's always wheelchair accessible. We don't put in all the wheelchair ramps and anything, but it's usually you only have to get up a step or two anywhere in the house. We've moved washers and dryers from a basement or a garage up into the house so that if once someone's in the house, there's no stairs within the house. And we try and do the same thing, 2 and 3 bedrooms. When we did the apartments that we bought, they were already set up and established and already had renters in them. And then we have 2 bedrooms and 3 singles, but they're all in 1 story. So there's no 2 stories. And it also helps because me and my husband always do all the work on them and we don't like going on 2nd story roofs. So I don't want to go up the stairs.
I think we all have that in common.
That's a great, yeah, that's a great tip. Thank you so much for that. Okay, well, ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate all of your information that you shared, and I will definitely post this and share this with you first, along with my contact information. and I'd love to connect all of you. I would love to get you together to explore some of these issues more, and probably
You can
give us a
fly me
little
to
bit more.
Hawaii.
Yes, we'll do a Hawaii retreat.
We have room.
Yeah, Erica's got room. So yeah, so I think that would be great to get all of you together again, and we can hear a little bit more. I'm just going to go ahead and unmute. All of you can go ahead and unmute, and say one last thing. Again, I thank you for your time, and if there's anything else that you wanted to say, go ahead.
I think we should definitely make this like maybe a recurring theme, or a recurring thing where once a month we get together and we have a different theme we talk about, but we can also invite just kind of anybody on the military landlord page that has questions or wants to chime in on anything. I do have the paid version of Zoom, so if you want me to send you a link, I can do that, and it can go unlimited. So
That would
just
be great.
let me know. I'm happy to jump in.
All right, well, awesome. Anybody else?
Thank you so much. It was great meeting everybody, and I hope to do this again.
Yes, thank you very much.
Alrighty, bye.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day, and I'll send this out to you soon. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.